In the previous video, I successfully cloned a Project 5 and pushed that up to the repo and also deployed to Netlify. In this video, I'm going to be adding an article from Lit Ipsen. And the instructions say that I have to edit index.html and create an article element with a class equals story inside that article. So let's do that. Index.html. So it says to create the article right after the gallery, the photo gallery. So what I can do is come over here to the gutter and close that down. Now I have a very nice spot in which to put my article. So I'll go ahead. I think I need a new line. Doesn't really matter. I think it'll put it in. But I'm going to use the help of the editor to do this. So I'm going to type article dot story return, and Emmet inside the editor does a real nice job of creating the open and the close tag for me. At the moment it complains because it's empty, but we will very shortly, actually I think it's complaining because it doesn't have an H2, but that's the next thing we're going to do. So yeah, I'm going to jump over this for a second. We'll get back to Lit Ipsen, but right now I'm going to add an H2. Oh, I guess I do have to go to Lit Ipsen because I have to choose my book first. So let's do that. I'll right click on this, open link in new tab so I don't lose my spot. And who shall I choose? Dracula is always a favorite. So I'm going to choose Dracula as my book. I have to come down here to the P tag button and make sure that that is selected. And that's a little bit more text than I want, so I'm going to take this slider and move it maybe to there. It's a little bit more text. This is very long, but it should be fine. So when I move this slider, hopefully you saw that it went red. There, I'll do it again. Actually, just clicking on it, it copies this highlighted text into your clipboard very nicely. And then just to repeat, I'm using Dracula. So I'm going to come back here, type H2, hit return, and then type in Dracula. Let me fix the spelling on that. Come completely outside that with my cursor, hit return or enter, and then paste in all of those paragraphs that I had just copied. So that actually looks great. Let's just make sure that I've done all that I'm supposed to do inside index.html. Oh, no, I haven't. I forgot the div. Okay. So what I'm going to do, so I'm going to back out. I'll do an undo of the paste. There we go. And the instructions have me, trying to scroll back, creating a div before I do my paste. So let's do that. Let's do a div. Open that div up. And now is the time I should paste. So we have a new article, and inside that is a child H2 element and also a child div. And inside that div are a number of child paragraphs. So in this structure, the article, if we want to call it a grandparent, is the grandparent of these paragraphs. And it's important to understand that it's also the class of story, which the div is a child of dot story, which we're going to use in just a moment. Okay, so now I think it's looking pretty good. I might right click out here and format with beautify. Just, you know, anytime I'm copying and pasting, we can get things kind of strange. Should be a new line right after that HTML. Okay, so let's save that. Come back into the instructions. As I was mentioning, we have a dot story which we can use for styling. And if, let's go and look real quickly, open live server. And if we look at the alignment of these H2s right here in the photo gallery, this is too far to the right. So what we're going to do is give it the same padding and move that, oh, excuse me, it's too far to the left, and move that over to the right. So I have to find that rule that we've been using before, the about me, the gallery, and then add a story, the dot story to that list. So that's in styles.css, and it's approximately line 100. There it is. So I'll put a comma right there, a new line, and add dot story. Very important, we don't introduce any typos when we do this. But I can go ahead and use Command or Control S to save. When I do that, and go back into live server, and now it's not so far over to the left. We have a little bit of breathing space right here, and our H2s line up very nicely. So then we have a discussion here. If you'll notice, this is way too wide. This is uncomfortable to actually try to read, because our eyes would have to scan all the way across and then back and find the start of the next line. And it's just too hard to do. So we're going to make it easier on our visitor and shorten those lines. And there's a real simple way of doing that. We'll first put a max width of 35 rems. There's no sort of science to this. It's an art. It will depend on the size of the font that you've actually chosen. And I may actually change this value, and you are allowed to change this value as well. So this one will control the width of that div, and this will make sure that that div is centered by using the auto value inside margin. And if you remember, hopefully you do, the way we read this is we read the selector, we start at the curly and read right to left. And what this says is, for the div, which is a descendant of a class.story, do these things to that. So I can copy this, steal like a developer, make it our own. It says to put that code down at the bottom of styles.css. So down at the bottom, which is here, we always have an empty line between declarations. So I made sure there's an empty line there. And now I can paste. And again, I'm going to save that with a Command or Control S. Come back over to Live Server, and now it looks much better. And I believe we've made it down to step 7, and it says this completes the addition of the new article element. So we'll call this good, stop the video, and come back in ready to add a new font pair.